Okay, I have two 95X builds. Let's cover this one. So this is the first one I made. Actually, it's kind of the second one I made. But this has an adjustable GoPro mount, and it uses a clean plate, so it's squishy. You can see that kind of. So this one, I finally got a carbon plate in. This is 1.5 millimeters. If I did it again, I'd have this cut in 2 millimeters. It's not about the weight, it's about the stiffness. And 1.5 flexes just a little bit. In fact, this is 3D printed in carbon PETG, and it's almost the same stiffness, except twist is a little more flexible. This is 2 millimeters with some ribbing on the other side to try to make it stiffer. So if you wanted to 3D print one, you could print this one and get away with it, and it flies pretty well. But if you want a little bit stiffer, even 1.5 is a little bit stiffer, but I'd probably do it again in 2 millimeters. And if you did it that way, you have to print the appropriate, because this has to be the right space, the appropriate soft mount. So the way this goes together is these soft mounts go on the motor. So it would be like this. So this gets screwed onto the motor with the motor spacers. And the great thing about this one is no tools required. Once this is on the motor, to put the clean plate on doesn't require any tools. You just slide it into the slot, and then it's easy to take apart. If you wanted to work on it, you just remove two of them, and it would be like a clamshell. You just flip it up, and you can access everything. But similar to the 85, this has a couple pieces, just so you know. There's a spacer here for the lens, so that it doesn't wobble in the vertical direction. I tapped the standoffs with an M2 thread tapper, and then inserted M2 nylon screws and nylon nuts on the other side. If you didn't want to tap this, you could use a hobby knife to weaken the bottom of the standoffs very carefully, and then twist the standoffs off. You still have to drill this PCB for these two holes with a 2 millimeter drill bit, very slowly, very carefully, because they're smaller than 2 millimeter, and these screws won't go in there. So, and then this top piece is a spacer. It's a TPU retainer, so that the GoPro just doesn't fall out. And I'm using a zip tie, but it's sized for an M3 screw, and you can put an M3 nut on it if you wanted to. The mount. Okay, so everything white is TPU, and everything red, that's not the props, is printed in PETG. So the camera holder, I found that if you print in TPU, you get a lot of jello because it wiggles too much, so this keeps it a little bit more firm. So like I said, it's got a clean plate that you, after you mount these by M2 screws onto your motors, you just slide this on by hand. No tools required for that part. And then when you print this is the adjustable camera mount, and it's just a lever, and I remixed that from a phone tripod, and then you can adjust it on the fly, no tools, and then just lock it, and the whole thing will hold up pretty well. Once you put these together, I would add a drop of glue just to this part where where you see the black pin poking out. Just a drop of glue. You don't want to get so far that you glue the whole lever, because this needs to rotate. But if you add a drop that way, otherwise it'll loosen up and this won't really work. So that pin has to be held in there securely, so a drop of glue will work. And then this is just a way to, this is optional, this is a way to mount antennas and such. So that's what I did for that one. And then there's legs on a 95X, especially if you use 1105 motors, probably you could get away with without using these, but if you use anything taller than 05, these prop nuts, these screws, will scrape on the ground. With these legs, 3 are the same, 1 is slightly different, because 3 of these you can just slide in. So you would just put it in like this, and then it just slides in. But this one near the front of the frame can't do that because there's an extra bar here. So this one's made a little smaller, that you can just force it in from this side, and it'll work. Obviously it works. So this will keep everything off the ground, and you won't scrape your props or cause a runaway or anything like that. So and that is it for this frame. all the pieces that go together. There's a diagram in the Thingiverse files. When you download, there's a 3MF file that shows the assembly. You can refer to that. But that's basically it. And this is a bit tall, but because of the adjustable mount, it works great for people doing like again, like real estate or indoors, anything where you need to change the angle on the fly. So on this, if you decide to use this button module, it snaps in, and there's a little spring barb thing that keeps it in there, so it snaps in. And if you try to remove it, if you try to remove your GoPro, you have to remember to remove your button module as well. It may be difficult to remove, but all you have to do is take something like a screwdriver, a flat bladed screwdriver, go in on the bottom and just pivot it, and then your switch module will come loose, and then you can remove it just like that. Okay, so that is how you remove that, and then just slide it back in, and it almost snaps into place and stays there until you remove it with a flat bladed screwdriver. So that's it for this frame. With a clean plate, you get really good video. It's got room for the front LCD, and I would recommend using an ND filter.